At some point in human history, every known civilization did something strangely similar. They looked at the same sky, the same storms, the same deaths, the same births. And they all came to the same conclusion in different forms. None of this is random. Something is behind it. Something is watching. Something is in control. And the disturbing part is not that humans invented gods. It's that humans seem almost neurologically inclined to do it. Because if you strip away culture, language, and geography, you are left with a brain that was never designed to tolerate uncertainty for very long. For most of human evolution, uncertainty was not philosophical. It was lethal. A rustle in the grass could mean nothing. Or a predator. A sudden illness could mean recovery, or death. A change in weather could mean survival, or starvation. The human brain adapted by treating uncertainty as something that required explanation fast. And when no explanation was available, it created one. This is where gods begin, not as abstract theology, but as a cognitive shortcut. When lightning struck a tree thousands of years ago, there were only two ways to interpret it. Either it was a meaningless natural discharge of energy, or it was an intentional act. And the human brain is biased toward intentionality. Psychologists call this hyperactive agency detection, the tendency to assume that events have an intentional cause, even when they don't. Because in evolutionary terms, false alarms were cheap, missing a real agent was deadly, so over-detecting intention was safer than under-detecting it. A shadow becomes something hiding. A sound becomes something moving, a coincidence becomes a pattern, and eventually natural forces become someone. But that's only the beginning. Humans don't just detect patterns, they emotionally attach to them. Once the brain assigns intention to an unknown force, it immediately starts building a relationship with it. Fear, respect, negotiation, gratitude. Because if something is powerful enough to cause storms, sickness, or survival, then it must be something you can influence. This is where ritual emerges. Early religious behavior looks less like belief and more like interaction design. If the gods control outcomes, then behavior becomes a way to communicate with uncertainty itself. Sacrifice becomes a transaction. Prayer becomes a request. Ritual becomes a control system for a world that otherwise feels uncontrollable. And this system spreads globally without coordination. Different environments produce different gods, but the underlying structure stays the same. Sky gods in vast open landscapes, river gods in agricultural societies, death gods in cultures with high mortality pressure, fertility gods in unstable food systems. The brain is not inventing different truths. It is mapping the same psychological need onto different environments, but there is something even deeper happening beneath this. Human consciousness is not naturally comfortable with randomness. Modern science tells us that many events are probabilistic, not intentional. But the brain struggles with that idea because probability does not satisfy emotional prediction systems. If something bad happens, it was random provides no closure, no direction, no prevention strategy. But someone caused this changes everything. It creates meaning, even if the meaning is terrifying. This is why ancient mythologies are not just stories. They are explanatory frameworks for chaos. While gods become narrative anchors that convert randomness into structure, lightning is not just electricity, it is Zeus. Disease is not just pathogens, it is divine punishment or imbalance. The harvest is not just weather and soil chemistry, it is blessing or withdrawal of favor. In a modern sense, these explanations are scientifically incorrect, but psychologically, they are stabilizing. There's also a social dimension that cannot be ignored. Once humans formed large groups, gods became more than explanations, they became coordination systems. If everyone believes the same unseen authority is watching behavior, cooperation becomes easier. Trust increases, cheating becomes riskier, moral behavior becomes enforceable even without constant human surveillance. In this sense, gods function like invisible social infrastructure. Not metaphorically, functionally. Even today, secular systems replicate many of these mechanisms: law, surveillance, reputation, digital tracking. The watching entity did not disappear. It was redistributed into institutions. But psychologically, the underlying architecture remains the same. Humans still behave as if being observed matters, even when no one is present. Experiments show this clearly. People are more generous when images of eyes are displayed nearby. Cheating decreases when individuals feel watched, even symbolically. The brain does not fully distinguish between real observation and implied observation. This is the same system that once created gods from storms and shadows. And there is another layer still. Human beings are aware of their own mortality. This creates a problem that most animals do not have to solve consciously. Life ends. Meaning ends. Identity ends. The brain resists that conclusion, so it generates counter-narratives: continuation, afterlife, judgment, cosmic justice. Systems where death is not an ending, but a transition. Whether those systems are literally true or not is a separate question, but their psychological function is consistent. They reduce existential uncertainty, and that reduction changes behavior at scale. So when you look across history, what you see is not random invention of gods. You see convergent solutions to the same cognitive pressure, uncertainty, pattern seeking, agency detection, social coordination, and mortality awareness. Different cultures did not invent different fantasies. They express the same mental architecture under different environmental conditions. And even now, with satellites, physics, and neuroscience, the underlying system has not disappeared. It has just changed language, because the human brain still prefers a structured story about reality over an unstructured one, even if that story is invisible.